Hi there. I want to introduce you to the basic Toulmin model. The Toulmin model is a very useful tool for us to have in a critical thinking argumentation class. The Toulmin model is a method for analyzing an argument by labeling the key parts. It's sort of like how people can use to outline sentences to know what the parts of a sentence is. Here we're looking at the different parts of an argument. Why do we want to do that? Well, by recognizing the parts of an argument, we can really determine the strengths and weaknesses of that argument. We know what's good about it, what's poor about it. If we want to attack it, we know where we can attack it. The basic Toulmin model has 6 parts. But what we're going to do today in this particular video is just look at the 3 basic parts of the argument, the first 3 parts of the argument. And the first thing that we look at is what we call grounds. The grounds is what we can observe. It's really the starting point for the argument. This is what we're aware of, what we've observed, what we've seen, that leads us to a conclusion. It can be a first-hand observation where we directly see it, or second-hand where we read or hear about it. But the grounds is where we start. For an example, let's say I'm the next door neighbor to Simon, and I look over and I see that Simon gave his wife flowers. So in the Toulmin argument, the grounds would go on the left-hand side at the beginning spot of the analyzing of the argument. The second aspect of the Toulmin model is called the claim. And the claim is what is actually the focus of the argument. This is what we're attempting to prove or convince an audience of. For example, Simon loves his wife. I want to prove that. So it looks like this. The grounds on one side leading to the claim on the other. And this is a simple 2-part argument. And the grounds we had was that Simon gave his wife flowers, and therefore we say Simon loves his wife. This is a typical of many, many arguments. You'll say something and then have a conclusion about it. The Greeks actually had a name for this type of argument. They called it an enthymeme. And I'm throwing that out there more than anything so you can impress your friends. When you hear your friends say something and then a conclusion, you can say, that's a good enthymeme. And they'll be impressed, I'm sure. But somehow we have to link the claim to the grounds. We need something to bring them together. And to do that, there's a third part to the model, and it's called a warrant. A warrant is a general or universal rule. And it is that rule that links the claim to the grounds. And one of the key aspects of a warrant is it can apply to more than one observation. So for example, in this particular argument that we have, we could say that people who give flowers to their wife love them. And the argument would look like this. Simon gave his wife flowers, and we know that people who give flowers to their wife love them. Therefore, we can conclude that Simon loves his wife. And notice that that warrant could apply to many situations. If Fred gave flowers to his wife, using this warrant, we could conclude that Fred loves his wife. This looks great, doesn't it? And in fact, the Greeks had a word for this type of argument. They called it a syllogism. But there's a problem. The problem with this type of arguing is that it's an all or nothing situation. That is, it has to be 100% accurate or it's useless. There are no gray areas at all. So, if we found one person who gave flowers to his wife who did not love her, the argument is useless or totally invalid. But what if 99% of the time it was accurate? It didn't seem like it should be useless. Well, to solve this, along came Dr. Stephen Toulmin. Dr. Toulmin added some additional parts that changed this into what we call an inductive argument, that allowed for gray areas, that was it's still useful enough to be able to make conclusions. And to see how we did that, we're going to look at a second video where we look at the advanced Toulmin model.